and welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black Bro Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. I hope you guys are having like the most fantastic week ever, because if you are like me and you sit around and listen to the General Assembly, you have probably pulled all of your hair out. I mean, the level of hypocrisy that happens in our state house is astounding. And it's unfortunate that we don't have people the people who represent us don't even listen to us. And unfortunately, because they have a supermajority, there are a lot of things that are happening that are just driving me crazy. But I am going to share some good news before we get started, right? The Hamilton County Reporter newspaper reports on Tuesday, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, announced more than $113 million from President Biden's investing in America's agenda for Indiana drinking water and clean water infrastructure upgrades. The funding is a part of more than a $50 billion investment in water infrastructure upgrades from the bipartisan infrastructure law. The funding will support essential water infrastructure that protects public health and treasured water bodies across the state. Almost half of this funding will be available as grants or principal forgiveness loans, ensuring funds reach underserved communities most in need of investments in water infrastructure. President Biden's investing in America's agenda continues to transform communities for the better with the latest infusion of funds for critical water infrastructure projects. EPA Administrator Michael S. Reagan said, with $50 billion in total, the largest investment in water infrastructure in our nation's history, EPA will enable communities across the nation to ensure safer drinking water for their residents and rebuild vital clean water infrastructure to protect public health for decades to come. See, some of y'all still sitting around talking about, well, what has Joe Biden done for me? He has now infused $113 million right here in Indiana for us to improve our water infrastructure. Now, the question is, will the Republicans at the State House who are in control of those dollars actually allocate them in the right way? Let's hope they do what they are supposed to do, because we've seen in previous years where they've passed, let's clean up our lead pipes, legislation. But at the same time, they passed a piece of legislation this year that is going to actually endanger our wetlands. So I'm not real sure how they're going to come out on this, but the EPA and the Biden administration, they are doing the things necessary to help us improve our water infrastructure. So y'all tip the hat to the Prez. He's doing his thing. I'm excited about that. Now, some other decent news. WFYI reports Indianapolis's planned Economic Enhancement District, or EED, will not be repealed. HB 1199 put the funding tool at risk, but an amendment saved the district with some caveats. The EED was approved by the Indianapolis City County Council last year after the 2023 legislation allowed the move. It charges a fee for property owners in the Miles Square district to support public safety, beautification, and homelessness projects. It builds on efforts started using federal relief dollars. Representative Julie McGuire authored the bill and said the city didn't need the tool. The bill passed the Indiana House, where apartment building owners spoke in favor of the repeal. An amendment passed in a Senate committee this week omits these owners, but allows them to opt into the district. Senator Andrea Hunley urged those owners to support the move. I'm hoping that the majority of multi-unit housing will choose to opt in, and several that I've talked to seem to indicate that they would. The EED would provide about $5.5 million in revenue a year and is capped at that amount. It will also expire after 10 years and needs to be renewed. The district will support Indianapolis's first low-barrier shelter for people experiencing homelessness. Senator Scott Baldwin of Noblesville helped facilitate the amendment. for us to move forward and to provide Indianapolis with a way to care for itself downtown, Baldwin said. They to really think about how those services are being delivered, how we can be responsive to property owners and stakeholders and users of downtown 365 days a year, said CEO of Downtown Indy Inc. President, CEO Taylor Schaefer. If Indianapolis believes that enhanced services provided with the ARPA funds are worthy to continue, they have the tools they need to provide this funding. So this is a good thing, because you guys know a couple weeks ago I talked about how they want to legislate Indianapolis from the State House. The Indianapolis City County Council took advantage of a tool that they were providing us and voted to put that money downtown in the Mile Square, which, by the way, if you actually had a chance to be in Indianapolis this weekend for the NBA All-Star to the state. And this is a way for us to improve it. Now, for this person who doesn't live in Indianapolis, say that we didn't need those funds was terrible. But this also speaks to people who have a problem with Indianapolis, or that they can't control Indianapolis the way they want to. But now we get to hold on to this, and we can provide those improvements to our Mile Square, and that is a plus. So I did start off with some positive news. I like to do that from time to time. But I got to, turn the tables a little bit. You know how I do. The StateHouseFile.com reports, in the House Roads and Transportation Committee on Tuesday, Senator Aaron Freeman spoke on his Senate Bill 52, which would prohibit the future development of dedicated lanes used for buses or other public transit along Washington Street until July 21st, 2025. After a 3-hour meeting, the bill was held until next week. Freeman said dedicated lines provide no benefit to the city. There were also 56 people from around the state not living in Indianapolis who came to testify in support of and against dedicated lanes. Again, they don't even live here. Michael Solari, president of the Market Street Group, opposes SB 52 because he believes dedicated lanes with bus routes provide for better access to the city to enhance tourism. Annually, more than 28 million visitors come to our city for conventions, meetings, and events, just like we saw this past weekend with the NBA All-Star Game. And our visitors have come to appreciate the ease of navigating our central core and continuing hospitality or tourism workforce and residents. Others believe dedicated lanes help slow down traffic and prevent cars from striking pedestrians. Representative Ed Delaney testified as an Indianapolis resident and Red Line bus rider. Without question, this is a matter for local road experts to decide, not the state legislator, Delaney said in a press release. Senate Bill 52 is yet another attempt for this body to overrule local units of government. Again, the residents of Indianapolis voted for the Blue Line, and they voted to have whatever the people said was the best way to increase rapid transit in Indianapolis. We need it. We got to have it. And here you have Aaron Freeman trying to legislate what happens in Indianapolis. This is a bad bill. So one of the best testimonies I heard while I was listening was from a young fellow who was in college, and he was being questioned by the speaker at the moment. And he was explaining how he had to wait 45 minutes for his regularly scheduled bus to arrive because of the extra people on the bus from this weekend. And he explained that it's not rapid if buses have to wait in traffic. It's not a rapid transit. So I want to thank him for standing up and speaking to this bill, and all the people that showed up at the State House. I don't know if they're going to listen, because, again, we don't have the votes to stop a bill like this, because we haven't elected enough Democrats to the State House to prevent them from literally passing legislation that hurt our city, especially when people in the city actually voted for this legislation. So Aaron Freeman, you can kick rocks, bro, but I'm really bugged out about the way they continually deny Indianapolis residents, our elected officials, the ability to govern the way we would want them to. Again, they're just mad that the economic hub of our entire state. Please understand, a lot of these senators and representatives come from counties and districts where the counties in those districts are welfare counties. What do you mean by welfare counties, Dana? I mean, they are losing residents at such a clip that they are not raising enough tax revenue to cover their own bills. So they get money from places like Marion County, Allen County, Vanderburgh County, and St. Joe County, right? To help offset and supplement the shortfall because they don't have enough residents to cover their expenses. But at the same time, they want to tell us how we can and we can't govern ourselves. That is problematic. That is, drives me nuts. But we got to do better. And if we just take the time to understand who is on our ballot and work to elect the right kind of people for our state, then maybe we can protect Indianapolis and other municipalities from overreach by the legislators in the state house. And as my vice president of Indianapolis Stonewall mentioned last night, the political pendulum will swing the other way. They think that they will have complete and total control forever. They will not, because they keep attacking humans. They keep attacking women. I've never seen where trans kids are such a problem, or they're attacking the ability to have free speech. If you don't like it on campus, then you might not get your tenure. These are the things that they are fighting for. We are fighting for, the infrastructure. We're trying to provide to make sure that people can get adequate health care. Those are the things that we're fighting for. Unfortunately, I don't know. These guys, maybe one day they will remember that they're supposed to represent the people. And if the people vote for a thing, let the people have the thing. But if they want to let Indiana continue to lag behind and Indianapolis being the shiny city within a state that's falling way, way behind, that's on them. Or if they want to continue to struggle to get the type of workforce that we need for a changing world, because people are like, yeah, I'm not living there. I can work remote. Oh, I'm going to stay in California. I can work remote. Oh, I'm going to stay anywhere but come to Indiana. And that's what's happening. So real talk. And I'm not even going to talk about Alabama and their, embryo is a child thing. We're going to leave. I trust me, that bill is coming to Indiana soon, because, it's not like Indiana, the Republicans here don't go to those same ALEC conferences and get those same ALEC bills. All right. And of course, it's Black History Month. I'm excited to bring to you another Black History moment. Tonight, we're going to talk about Jane Bolin. Jane Bolin was the first Black woman graduate of Yale Law School and the first Black female judge in the United States. Bolin was born in Poughkeepsie, New York on April the 11th, 1908. From her earliest days in her father's law office, Bolin knew she wanted to be an attorney. She graduated from Wellesley College in 1928 and earned her law degree from Yale Law School in 1931. Bolin clerked in her father's law office until she passed the New York bar exam in 1932. She married fellow attorney Ralph Mizell a year later, and together they opened up a practice in New York City. In 1937, Bolin was named Assistant Corporation Counsel for the City of New York, serving on the Domestic Relations Court. Mayor LaGuardia appointed Jane Bolin judge of the Domestic Relations Court in 1939, where she served for 40 years. During her tenure with two other judges, she achieved two major changes: the assignment of probation officers to cases without regard to race and religion, and a requirement that publicly funded private child care agencies accept children without regard to ethnic background. Judge Jane Bolin reluctantly retired in 1979 after reaching mandatory retirement age, and went on to serve in the New York State University Board of Regents, where she reviewed disciplinary cases. Bolin was also a member of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, the National Urban League, and the Child Welfare League. Jane Bolin died on January 8th, 2007 in Queens, New York. She was 98 years old. I mean, Black women in law. Fani Willis, shout out to you. We doing the things. We've been doing the things. You put the barriers in front of us, we'll figure out how to knock them down and keep it moving. So for all you aspiring attorneys, just know, what did she have to go through going through Yale Law School in the 1930s, late 1920s, in the middle of the Depression on top of all that, right? You can do it too. Keep your nose to the grind. If you need some positive energy to uplift you, reach out to Indiana's Own, because I got you. I got you, because we can do all things if we put our mind to it. All right, that's my rant for tonight. let's hear from my sponsor, Bohm's Unique Boutique.
Today's show is brought to you by Bohm's Unique Boutique. Click on the QR code. And for all Turn Left listeners, you can get a 10% discount on your order by using the code Democrat. Be sure to visit www.bohmsuniqueboutique.com.
Democrats, are you looking for an affordable content creation option? If so, look no further than Black Pearl IT Solutions and Black Pearl Studios. Indiana's own Dana Black is providing many of the communication wraparound services any Democratic organization needs. No matter the size of the budget, Indiana's own has you covered. Just scan the QR code or visit www.blackpearl_its.com. All right. Yo, first of all, I owe everyone who's watching tonight an apology. If you are here to watch Hope Fussner on the show, I messed up. See, I'm the producer, the content creator, the talent acquisitioner, all the things, and I didn't verify her show. So we are going to have her on. I apologize. She apologized to me, and I'm the one that messed up. So already I can tell I'm like her, right? And I was like, no, I owe you an apology. I did not confirm. That's my fault. But we will get her on, and we will make sure that you guys can hear from her because she is down there in Vandenberg doing her thing. But tonight, it's just going to be me and JB. Y'all give it up for my guest all the way from Bartholomew County, running for Bartholomew County Commissioner, Josh Burbrink. Josh, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Dana.
I love it. So was there anything in my rant that you wanted to hit on or comment on or had any feelings on?
Oh, a little bit of everything. Just to give a heads up, I'm with the fire department, so, the tones drop. I'll probably have to end this call early, but, appreciate you having me on this evening.
I love it. Hey, guys, in Bartholomew County, keep it cool tonight. We got your mans on our show telling us his story. Thank you. So you're a firefighter. You know what? Tell the people who you are and where you come from.
Yeah, sure. My wife's a children's librarian at the public library here in Bartholomew County, and I'm a new dad. I live on a real small hobby farm here on the west side of town. I have a variety of adopted rescue animals that keep us pretty busy. I have pit bulls, pigs, cats, chickens, about everything under the sun here. Like I stated, I'm a firefighter with Harrison Township Fire Department. I'm an EMT there, firefighter. I do hazmat, ice rescue, search and rescue, about everything there that I can. I'm also the vice president of the Friends of the Library nonprofit board here in town. And just to shamelessly promote this, there's a Library After Dark fundraiser on March 23rd in town. We'd love to have everyone there. It's going to directly benefit the summer reading program, so you can't beat that. And then professionally, I'm a sales and marketing director for internet service provider. So trying to get fiber optic internet out there to the state using all of this, infrastructure money that Biden gave us.
I love it. So where'd you grow up?
I grew up here in Columbus. I wasn't necessarily born here. I was born in Illinois. Don't hold it against me, but moved here when I was 2. My entire family's from here. I'm on the different side of town now than where I originally came from, but that's all right. But yeah, I absolutely love Columbus. Absolutely love this town.
I actually like Columbus too. I've been there so many times. And in fact, the Bartholomew County Democrats are like some of the best small town organizing machines. You guys down there, I love visiting and chatting with the Democrats down there. So what were some of your interests as a young person? What got you wanting to be a firefighter?
Oh man, that was such a weird, random story of how I decided to start doing that. I literally watched a movie and kind of got it in my head that I wanted to help in that capacity. I've always been pretty involved with various types of volunteer work through the church and just through growing up in general. Back during, my 20s, I volunteered with a nonprofit called Connected Community Partnership. They're no longer around, but, we did a lot of nonprofit work to support, members of the community that couldn't afford a computer, kind of helping them get access to that and helping them. But, I just randomly decided that I wanted to become a first responder one day. I called the fire department and they asked if I could come in because they had a meeting the next day. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I showed up at the meeting. They gave me a membership form. I filled it out and they're like, can you start next week? Our first training session's going on. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So, within a week, I was in fire academy and I was learning how to do it. And it's been an absolute blast. It's a very interesting volunteer gig that I have.
I love it. I love it. Was there something in your childhood or something in your upbringing? Because you mentioned a lot of service. You're sitting on boards. You want to help people with literacy. You want to help people get computers. You're a volunteer firefighter. What was it going on in your house that turned you into essentially a public servant before you even ran for office? What was going on there?
I'm not quite sure. I think just my parents really encouraged me when I was growing up to help, especially like I said in the church. It's just kind of giving me that, the heart of a servant, I'm heart of a volunteer. And so, I kind of like randomly find these opportunities in my community that have really big impact. It seems like in the last 10 years and firefighting was definitely one of them. And then getting into the local Democratic Party was the other big shift for me that I've sunk a ton of time into, and it's extremely rewarding. And, it's how do I help this town? How do I help this community?
I love it. I love that because you got to be a servant in this work. If you in it, I tell people all the time, if you're in it because you think you look good on a poster, I don't want to hear that. Like we got enough arrogant people. We got enough arrogant people. So what did you know, or did you have an idea that one day you would want to run for office, or was it after your work with the Democratic Party did you decide?
It's kind of the exact same way I got into the fire service. I randomly decided that I want to potentially get into politics. I called headquarters. They're like, hey, can you meet me tomorrow? I was like, sure. I met with some party members and they're like, hey, do you want to run for county council? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so they put me on the ballot. So, within a month I was campaigning after deciding that I wanted to do it.
Okay. So you ran, this is your second run because you're running for county commissioner now.
Yeah, I'm running for commissioner now, and I ran for county council 2 years ago.
Okay, dope. So this is not your first rodeo. We love that. So it
still kind of is, but it's not, right? Yeah.
I love it. I get excited when, people aren't necessarily successful the first time around, but they don't give up, right? Don't be like me. Don't run one time and never do it again, right? Don't be like me. Keep trying. So
yeah, it's like I've told a few people, I'm definitely running in a red county in a lot of ways, but you got to make them work for it, right? And you got to fight for it.
Absolutely. So, you're a firefighter, you're working on the library board, and now you're out canvassing and campaigning in your county. What are the things that you are seeing in Bartholomew County that aren't being addressed the way they need to be?
It's a good question. I think overall with why I want to run, it's not necessarily because there's any one specific item I think that our current leadership is just completely failing on, but I'm worried about, representation from the Democratic Party in our local government. I'm worried about, the future of this county now that I have a daughter. Like what is this town going to look like in 20 years? How forward thinking are we looking at, especially with this weird shift in the Republican Party becoming more and more, crazy, really. And I want to make sure that we have sane, rational political leaders in office in this town. And so I don't have any particular beef with the commissioner that I'm currently running against, but I want to get Democrats in office and I want to win.
Okay. And so what are like the three main issues that you are running your campaign on?
I think the first big item would be just county preparedness, right? I want to make sure that our public services are forward looking at this point. The county commissioners, they control, a lot of infrastructure. They control our roads, they control our county buildings. And I want to make sure that we're paying our county employees what they need to get paid for them to stick around. I think we've had a pretty big retention issue in this county with our employees, and we've recently given them a little bit of pay rate, but I think our county employees definitely deserve a lot more. And so I want to do what I can when it comes to that. I want to make sure, I think the biggest thing that comes to mind for me, though, is that the commissioners have a lot of control when it comes to board appointments, commission appointments and committee appointments. And I think that just has a huge impact on the community. 2 years ago, when I was running for county council, I was at, the library board meeting. So I'm with the Friends of the Library, which is the nonprofit. So I'm not necessarily with the library board, but I'm with the nonprofit board. Mm-hmm. But when I was at the library board meeting, there was a local church there, and they were trying to get books banned, right? I mean, it was a pretty big issue 2 years ago, and it continues to be a big issue today. They were getting really vocal about it, and I got pissed. I started seeing red. I stood up, supported the library. I did what I could while I was there, but it was just me and my father-in-law there. So I tried to activate the community in any way I can. We ended up having a couple of hundred people show up for the next library board meeting to support the library in general. But I remember there was one particular board member there that was sympathetic to that church. She was sympathetic to getting the books out of there, and she kept using very derogatory terms towards the LGBT community. And it definitely didn't help me seeing red at that meeting. And I kind of found out that she was a commissioner appointed board member. And so, I started looking to see what it would take to get her removed, right? How is this acceptable in general? Why do you have a library board meeting that board member that doesn't want books, right? It was just madness to me. So, I started looking into it more. That term ended, though. We got a new library board member in there that the commissioners appointed that, so far looks like he's going to be good. But, I'm just forward thinking here, right? You gotta make sure we have better representation with these county governments, and these board member appointments are super important. We want to make sure that those high impact positions are filled with the right people.
I love it. And I want to go back to what the first thing you're talking about you talked about county employees getting paid and that retention issue that you have. I mean, my partner Nicole often mentions continuity of institutional knowledge, and if you don't have people who stay for a little while to make sure that knowledge stays there, so that you understand what has happened and what could happen, and you're constantly turning over, that is gonna put a wrinkle in your preparedness plan. Did you automatically, or was there for you a line drawn as you were thinking about that in the preparedness and how to prevent the county from being prepared, and saw that, employee retention was one of those things? Employee retention?
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to some county employees about it 2 years ago, and the thing that kept coming up is just that institutional knowledge that'll be lost when you have this high turnover, or when you have some of these older county employees that are getting ready to retire. It's not a super desirable job anymore to have a county government job, right? And a lot of it has to come into the pay. And so we have some people that have been around forever. They know so much, but they don't necessarily have the right people to pass that knowledge on to. And so when they retire, that knowledge goes away, and that's going to have a big impact on this community.
Yeah. And so did your work as a firefighter help you think about preparedness? Because obviously you guys do, trainings and how to, be ready for an emergency, but is that kind of also where you got that preparedness? Because I like that, because I never heard that before. So I got more questions about, what does it mean to be prepared?
Yeah. No, preparedness is a great topic. It's something I absolutely love to think about. I have a friend with the National Guard, and that's what he does all day, is just, he works with how to prepare Indiana and how to make sure, we can survive if there's anything crazy that happens with the state. And so, I grew up with a Boy Scout, right? I was in Boy Scouts as young as I can remember, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, and, they're always about be prepared, right? And so I think a lot of those lessons have pushed forward with me, and I kind of keep in the back of my mind. But, when it comes to, the county in particular, the county commissioners are directly involved with our emergency management and disaster response. And so it is it's an important part of this role. And it is another thing that I'm just really interested about. I mean, one thing that I'm really hoping to start here soon is we don't have a strong community emergency response team presence in this county, and that's something I would love to work on. And so what that's called it's a CERT team, or again, a community emergency response teams, and that's where you kind of get together civilians that want to help with disaster response, but aren't, law enforcement officers. They're not firefighters. They're just, something bad happens, they want to help, right? And that's where these CERT teams really come into play, and you provide them, the first aid training, you provide them the disaster response training, and make sure they have what they need to take care of themselves and their neighbors. And I think that type of solidarity with your neighbors and that type of response it just goes a really, really long way.
I like that, because I never heard of anything like that. I mean, but I'm not a first responder by any stretch of the. I'm the chick that's running away from danger, because as soon as I see it, I know who I am, right? And so is the county commissioners would be able to kind of implement that plan and then work with the county council for the budgeting, or how would that work?
So with the community emergency response teams, anyone can form those. And so that's why I'm looking at it from a personal aspect. I'd love to kind of get that program going. But yeah, in general, the county commissioners and the council, they control, the 911 dispatch, they control, all of our emergency management parts of our government. So I'd be real interested to learn more about some of the high level plans that our county has, and how I can help develop that if I get elected.
I love that. Indiana's own Dana Black. We are talking to Josh Burbrink, who is running for Bartholomew County Commissioner. And if you guys like what he's talking about, please click on the donate link so you can donate to his campaign. Y'all know how much I love to help Democrats as much as I can. So let's turn this into a fundraiser. Click on the link. $5. Become a $5 recurring donor. Become a $10 recurring donor, and help him win this election and bring real representation to Bartholomew County. So when you're out campaigning, obviously you're having conversations with constituents and things of that nature. And you've mentioned it a couple of times that you've talked to county employees, and you're at, library board meetings. As you're talking to the community, what are some of the things that they are telling you they would like, you to work on? I know that you said the things that you want to work on, but what have they told you that they want you to work on?
A good question. I think the most surprising thing that I learned when I was going campaigning door to door wasn't necessarily something that I could help fix for them. They didn't exactly want a specific issue resolved. I think the most interesting thing about my talks with people going door to door is they were excited there was a Democrat at their door talking to them.
Love it.
And I think especially out in the county where I'm from, they don't get that a lot. They feel isolated. They feel like they don't have neighbors that are Democrats, and they don't have, a lot of representation there. And so I would talk to them like, no, like I've talked to 30 Democrats in this neighborhood today, right? We're out here, and we got to get involved, and we got to see what we can do to really get better representation in our local government. I think that was the biggest takeaway for me when I campaigned 2 years ago, is they were just excited there was a Democrat at their door.
I love it. And you can carry that momentum forward. And plus, since they see you in the community, I tell people all the time, don't wait until it's election to show up in your community. Show up before your name is on the ballot. Show up in these community meetings.
Absolutely.
And make yourself known and talk about the issue so you get a name for yourself. So, there's county commissioner. Again, it's not one of those glamorous positions. That's why I was really excited. I thought I was going to have both you and Hope on, so we could just talk. We can just county commissioner down. What are some of the other responsibilities of the county commissioner that we should be aware of? I love that you talked about that you are appointing board members for seats like the library board. But what other role does the county commissioner have?
Yeah, so I mean, they're the they're like the mayor of the county, right? Mm-hmm. The city has their mayor, the city has their city council. When it comes to the larger county as a whole, the commissioners kind kind of fulfill that role. So they're the executive and the legislative branch of the county. And what that kind of really boils down to is they control a lot of the county policies. They control, or at least they oversee all of the county-owned properties and facilities like the jail, the government building. I've touched base before on when it comes to emergency management, disaster response, health and safety. And then they also kind of help maintain, county infrastructure. They pay our county engineer to make sure our roads are being maintained. And, I think that's one interesting thing being driving around, right? You definitely, you notice those potholes. And so, that county infrastructure, especially out like in the far reaches of this county where it starts turning into gravel roads, that's part of what these commissioners help, maintain and take care of.
And see, those are so nuts and bolts things. They're not flashy or glamorous, but it's like if you're driving in Bartholomew County, you don't want to have to change a tire in the middle of the night. you just don't.
That's right.
So let me ask you. So Columbus is the economic center of the county. We could agree to that, right?
I would say so. Yes.
Okay. So what will it be like? Tell me, what will it be like to have to work with the city? How does the county work with the city, or how do you plan, or what are some of your goals to work with the city to, obviously because Columbus is in Bartholomew County, there's still some functionality that goes on in there, but how do you guys plan on working together?
Yeah, I mean, I have a good relationship with some of the current, city council board members right now. We got a lot of Democrats in office with the city right now, so I think it'll be easy to kind of talk back and forth on some of these joint issues that both the county and the city have to work together. When I was kind of looking through and doing a lot of my research about the commissioner position and how it interacts with the county as a whole, I think I still need to do some research. It's such an important position to the county, and I think the main thing that I'm really trying to figure out is just how some of these decisions really influence the future. And so I've been kind of going over old board meeting minutes. I've been going over past legislation that the county's passed, and I'm really looking forward to learning more about how do you take this role and how do you craft the future with it, right? And the city of Columbus and the county will definitely need to work hand in hand when it comes to that.
I like the way you're thinking because, a lot of people, I talk to a lot of candidates and they know they want to run for office and they've decided to run for office. And I always ask them, how can they use that position in that seat to make changes? And I love that you answered it. I want to see how these policies are impacting the future, right? Because it's not just about now, right? County commissioner is a unique position. Like Indianapolis, our county commissioners are the county treasurer, the county auditor, and I think the recorder. If not the recorder, the clerk. So because of Unigov, like it's not a separate governing body. If you are elected as one of those county seats, then you're a county commissioner. Like I mean, they just dog Indianapolis out. I'm gonna get out my feelings here in just a minute, but they just be dogging us out. We don't. Do y'all?
And
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think the big thing that I just try to keep in the back of my mind, right, is I don't plan on leaving this town. I absolutely love Columbus, and I'm going to be raising my daughter in this county, right? So, what is my hometown going to look like in 20 years? And I want to have a direct voice on how that's shaped.
So, why do you love Columbus? Why do you love Bartholomew County and Columbus, Indiana? Why do you love it so much? I know you said you're out in the county now, but what is it that you love?
Yeah, it would have to be the people in it, right? I mean, that's really what it boils down to. The amount of people that I know in this town that are just absolutely great people, and the people that I tend to hang out with are the ones that directly work with the public. They're out there helping everyone else out, and I think Columbus and the county in general is just really cool like that. Really hard to explain why you love your hometown, right? It's just your heart.
Yeah.
And so, but definitely the people is what makes a large part of that.
And that's the thing. I'm glad to hear that, your goal and desire is that you want to fix your home. Literally, that's why I'm Indiana's own. Indiana is my home, and there's 92 counties that need some help, and I'm claiming it. I'm claiming it. So you talked
And
about
we appreciate you for that, Dana.
listen, there's so much that we can do to, you talk about thinking about the future, and that's why I get so frustrated with the state house, because they keep wanting to go backwards, right? You talk about the future and your daughter. Describe for us like the future that you see for your daughter. What do you see? Where do you see your daughter? What do you hope she's able to accomplish with very few barriers? What are you hoping the world is like for her?
That's a really, really interesting question. I think the best answer I have to that is whatever she wants to do, right? I don't want her to be held back by the BS that the world has and tries to throw at you, right? So that would probably be the best answer I have as far as that is. I want her to be able to achieve whatever she wants to achieve.
That is probably the best answer. Like I agree with that, and I love girl dads. Girl dads are like, nothing wrong with you boy dads, but girl dads are dope. The fathers with daughters, they tend to be a little bit more, they're just different. So tell us something else about your campaign and how we can help you with your election.
I tried to do the research on this before this, and I couldn't find the exact quote or the exact statistics, but I thought it was real interesting when you look at just a cross section of the United States, the amount of people that go and vote, right? And so, I don't know what the exact number is right now, but it's definitely nowhere near 100%, right? And so you boil that down, right? And so now you only have a certain amount of the nation that votes, and then out of the certain amount of the nation that votes, during the presidential election, it goes down even further for the ones that go and vote at, the rest of their elections that happen every year, right? And so then that's only a certain amount of people. And then you take that, you can boil it down any further. There's only a certain amount of people that, donate to a political campaign each year or in general. And the number gets smaller. And then the number gets smaller from there for people that, have ever gone out and canvassed before or volunteered with the party. And then you boil that down even further for people that have decided they want to run for something and they want to put themselves out there and run for office. And so I guess the biggest thing that I can ask for everyone is how can you, be part of that small number of people that really has a huge impact and that goes out there and helps, right? And you can only do what you can do, and I definitely understand that, but, it takes a very special type of person to be involved and to even listen to this podcast, right? It's very cool. So people just need to go out there and they need to vote. They need to go out there and donate if they can. And, if they're interested in running, go out there and run.
I love it. I love it. And do you have what was the best piece of advice you have received since you decided to run for office a second time?
Probably start early and hit it hard, right? And that's what I'm planning on doing. As much as possible, going out there, knocking on doors and talking to people. It's never too early to start in the campaign season for sure. But the other part of advice I've really received is just, listen to see what everyone has to say when you go and talk to them and see what you can do to help them. And, it's definitely something I'm going to keep in the back of my mind when I'm out there going knocking on doors.
Well, and you have a leg up, and a lot of people don't even recognize that you have a leg up in that you are a volunteer firefighter. So you know your community, and they know you. They already knew you and already liked you, and they probably don't care that you have a D behind your name. I know a lot of folks get all intimidated when they're in some of our rural areas, and they're like, oh, you're Democrats, I'm scared. And I'm like, whatever. But, like, they know you. Right. And so I'm certain that that's kind of like translated over into some positive conversations out there while you're knocking doors. Right.
It's funny because I'll end up in these weird social circles with people that have the just exact opposite political views as I do. And, it occasionally happens. And it's just funny when you just, I'm so quick to find that middle ground. I'm real quick to point out the things that we have in common and not the things that we have different. And, I think people just need to realize that a lot more is, we're all in this together. We all have real similar views on how this world needs to go. Just because there's an R or the D at the end of your name, it doesn't mean you should count someone out. Especially when it comes to me, right? Definitely vote for Burbrink. That's for sure.
I love it. I love it. One of the nicest things that happens when I knock doors, like you said earlier, talking about how they didn't know that the Democrats were in the community. One of the things I loved was when I knock on a door and a person said, "I've never had a politician knock on my door." And this guy, the person I ran against, had been in office for 30 years. Are you seeing that where they're like, "I've never even had a politician knock on my door before"?
Oh yeah, I had a lot of that, and one thing I really tried to do 2 years ago is whenever I would talk to someone, I would go home and I would make sure I wrote down their name, and I would write down the name of their pet, and I would at home I wrote a postcard to every person that I talked to, and I addressed the postcard to themselves and to their pet, and so I hope people got those postcards and went out there and voted for me, and I think that was a really tough thing to do, but I'm really glad I did it.
I like that idea. Listen, all you politicians out there, learn the names of the pets. I mean, because, hey, if you're taking that much time to learn. All right, I want to go back to the infrastructure conversation I talked about a little bit earlier. So we're going to dig just a little bit into some policy. We are seeing all over our state where we have bad pipes. And we haven't, as a nation and as a state, done the work that we needed to do. How do you feel like this $113 million is going to be impactful to Bartholomew County?
I would say that, I want to give you an easy answer there, Dana, but I've not done the research. And I think when it comes to public policy, especially when you start looking at millions of dollars, you need to really defer to the experts and you got to do your research. And I've not done that. So I can't give you a straight answer.
I appreciate that.
We definitely want to make sure, I really want to make sure the money's getting spent the right way. And I want to make sure it's going to be, helping out the right people. And so I'm looking forward to learning more about that.
I love it. I love it. Indiana's own Dana Black. Turn left. We are talking to Josh Burbrink, who's running for county commissioner in Bartholomew County. So, Josh, tell the people where they can find you.
VoteBurbrink.com. That's where I'm at. You can find my ActBlue link. You can find my Facebook link. I think I even got my email address, my telephone number there listed there. So shoot me a text, shoot me an email, donate. And then I'm hoping to get a portal open here soon for anyone who feels like volunteering to get involved and see what you can do to help.
And do you have any events coming up, like fundraisers, anything like that?
Not for myself, no. That will be in the works here. We're trying to find another commissioner's candidate run in District 3. I keep harassing my uncle, John Burbrink, to run. I think it'd make real nice T-shirts and signs will make it real easy that just says "Vote Burbrink for Commissioner." So we'll see what I can do to make that happen.
I love it. I love it. That, you know what? I talk about tandem fundraising and tandem work all the time at ActBlue, and to hear you come up with, you done hatched a whole plan where the two of y'all can run together, work together, raise together. That's dope. I love every minute of it. So I really do appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. I know I was supposed to have another guest with us tonight. Unfortunately, we did not. Again, if you tuned in to listen to Hope, I apologize. But I thank you so much, Josh, for joining us. And I wish you all the best luck in the world. Knock him out and tell my folks down in Bartholomew County I'll be down there soon because it's almost time to do some more training.
And Jana, if you don't mind, I just got a last thing I'd like to throw out there.
Absolutely.
And it's just a quote that it's a quote that I keep in the back of my mind every day since I've seen this movie. And the movie is from Waking Life. And there was a quote in it that really stuck with me. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to say it real quick. And
absolutely. Take your time.
Are you a dreamer? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you a dreamer? Our planet is facing the greatest problems it's ever faced, ever. So whatever you do, don't be bored. This is absolutely the most exciting time we could have possibly have hoped to be alive, and things are just starting.
I love it. I love it. And things are just starting, right? We can't look at the opportunity times. We have an opportunity to move everything in the correct direction, right? We can't get the thing that makes me nervous are when people talk about how scared they are, but they don't want to do any of the things that are necessary to make themselves not be scared. And the things that are making them scared, we can actually change. It's not fixed. I mean, organizations all over the country and all over the state have made it easy for you to volunteer, have made it easy for you to donate. It's made it easy. It almost helps. They train you and give you all the tools you need to be a good candidate, campaign manager, finance, compliance person, the whole nine. Like, all of these tools are out here for anyone who feels compelled enough to not just complain about the situation, but to actually get involved and make the change. So I love that poem that you just read. That was so incredibly awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I mean, thank you for joining me tonight. I appreciate you. Now, we made it so that the fire people didn't have to come get you. So you're off the hook. Thank you so much for tuning in, man. I love it. And let me know what I can do to help you out in the future. You have a fantastic night.
Thanks, Dana. Thank you all.
All right, y'all. Woo, we have candidates all over just like that who are running for office and doing the best they can to keep themselves involved and be good stewards of our communities. A firefighter, the library board, showing up at libraries and being like, this bigot gotta go. Those are the type of fighters that we need. And it's still time for you to get involved. Find a candidate that you want to support. Find a candidate that you believe in. Find an organization that you can get down with, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. My final thoughts for the night. Can I just talk about, I mentioned it a couple of times in my rant, but I just want to talk about how grateful I am for the people who work in Indiana Pacers Sports and Entertainment and the Convention Center people and all the people that put the work in to bring the amazing events that come and show up in Indianapolis. I know the weather, I thought it was ironic that the weather showed up on February, the Friday before festivities kicked off, and we had the snow and the ice and the cold. But I got to say this, and I hope y'all don't take this the wrong way, as I mentioned it a couple of times over the weekend. I feel like the divine is looking out for us. If you remember in the Super Bowl year, it was 60 degrees in February. Do y'all remember that? Y'all remember that? It was 60 degrees the year that we hosted the Super Bowl. This year, the weather was ridiculous outside. The snow came, it was freezing cold, so you really didn't want to be outside. But when I think about what happened in Kansas City just the days before the event coming to Indianapolis, I wasn't mad at all about that extra cold weather. I know some people complained, they were like, never have an NBA All-Star game in Indianapolis. I beg to differ. If we have an NBA team, they should be wherever the NBA teams are, right? But that cold might have been something that we needed to make sure that everyone who attended the All-Star Weekend festivities were safe. Because if you remember, Indiana has a constitutional carry, and you don't have to have a permit. You can walk around with your gun wherever you want, and voila. And I was kind of happy that it was so cold that people may not have wanted to come downtown. They may not have wanted to be in a sniper mode. They may not have wanted to stand out in a space where they were going to just cause some harm because there was, thousands of people in Indianapolis and ruin what was an amazing event. So I think I'm not upset at the cold, because Kansas City Chiefs couldn't even celebrate their win. They couldn't even celebrate their win without folks acting ugly. And so to that, I'm going to say shout out to the divine for giving us 12-degree weather, but keeping us safe. And to the folks who came up with the LED floor, y'all, that was dope. And had the LED wristbands so that the whole stadium lit up at the same time. Shout out to Trinity Haven, who gave me a couple of tickets from a grant we won. I was so super excited to get to go to my very first All-Star anything. And I took my homie, and because Nicole said don't invite her to no basketball, nothing. So I didn't. But Indianapolis is a world-class leader in how to put on events. Indianapolis brings in millions of dollars every year. And all those dollars go to help improve the quality of life in Indianapolis. I don't know if the State House is jealous of what we get to do in Indianapolis. I don't know if they feel like they don't feel the benefits of what we do in Indianapolis, because they do. But what we do in Indianapolis is good stuff. And yes, it was cold, but it was a banging All-Star weekend. And considering we were supposed to have it in 21 and we got pushed back to 24, yo, I'm glad. Like, everything worked out exactly the way it was supposed to. I'm super proud of my city for showing up and showing out. It was great to see all the Hoosier legends in town. You know, Larry Bird was here. Isaiah Thomas was here. Of course, Reggie was here. And then we celebrated our young guns and Tyrese Halliburton. I know this has nothing to do with politics, but it really does. Because even getting the All-Star game here took some policy, right? It took somebody passing legislation to say, hey, let's build Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Let's budget for it. It took some policy to say, let's expand the convention center and build Lucas Oil Stadium. It took policy to make sure that the roads and the streets and the infrastructure were all in place to allow these things to come together. Everything we do is about policy. So if you enjoy having these spectacular events in Indianapolis, then we need to make sure that we don't have people in the State House trying to undermine the good work that we are doing. So please find a candidate who's running for the State House or the State Senate and all levels of government. But so that we can keep moving Indiana forward through our shining star, which is Indianapolis. And I know some folks all over the state are going to be like, really, Dana, that's all you got? But listen, if Indianapolis gets something, that means Fort Wayne will get something. That means South Bend will get something. That means Evansville could get something, because we are building this up. So let's continue to work to bring people in who are going to write good policies to keep moving our city and state forward. I want to thank my guest, Josh Burbrink, for hanging out with me. It was just me and him. But in the meantime, I got a full slate of guests for next week. I'm excited about all the candidates. We are booked out until the primary. I am ready to get these people hyped up and get them elected. Continue to click on the donate button so that people know that if you come on Turn Left, you're going to receive some funds. So go ahead and please donate to our candidates tonight. And in the meantime, I will holler at you next week. Peace.
Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions. Executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by www.bensound.com.